Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. With me, my good friend and special guest, Dr. Friday with Dr. Friday's tax and financial firm over in Brentwood, Tennessee. You know, we were talking about different things that happen. I'm going to want to end on this part about tax auditing and tax problems and then get back to tax tips. But one of the things I really want to impress upon people, and this is one of the areas, Dr. Friday, when you have someone come in and they haven't filed taxes because they've been afraid to file because of what's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, the problem is that
the time
they
clock
think
never stops.
Right. There's no way that 5 years from now, those don't go away. They're there forever until you file, right?
And we have some cases from 1990s that the IRS are coming back at these people. In fact, they're actually taking people's Social Security benefits because these people did not file the taxes. So remember, the IRS basically has 10 years to collect any money from you once you file the tax returns. So theoretically, 10 years from the year in which you file, you can start looking back. So if you filed your tax on time for like 2002 and 2003 and they were on time, filed properly, but you never paid them, most likely those have fallen off, meaning the IRS cannot continue to collect. Now, there are certain times that the time clock can stop during a time when we're dealing with an offer and compromise, things like that, where we're actually delaying the system in hopes to settle the system. But in most cases, if you can do that, you'll know. So yes, there are some people that will just get into a non-collectible situation and live out that time period. But if you never file, the IRS will file on your behalf at some point. Never in your favor, because if you're married with children, they'll claim you as single and zero. They will give you zero deductions. So if you have a mortgage interest, even though they know about it, they will not claim it. They don't know for sure if it's against your primary home. So you're going to get the worst tax return ever prepared. But that's the point. They're trying to get your attention. Remember, that really is the reason for most of these love letters that the IRS sends you. It's not for any other reason, but they want you to contact them and put them into the right frame of mind, in a sense.
Right. I mean, this is the thing. Basically, it's just a matter of file your taxes, get it in there. If you can't pay the tax, then see someone like Dr. Friday who can help you work out an arrangement with the IRS on your behalf to help minimize it, allow you to put you on a payment thing. There's a Fresh Start program. There's a lot of different things out there that can help taxpayers that get into trouble. Okay? Now, most of us who hopefully are not in trouble, let's talk about some things for tax year planning, or at the end of year tax planning. So one of the things, you can do Roth conversions as an example, and there may be some benefits to doing it, but a Roth conversion, if we want it impacted this year, and there could be, again, we take a look at your tax situation this year. Would it be a good time to do a tax conversion, a Roth conversion? If so, how much? We have to get it in by the end of the year, so we got to get moving if we're going to get that accomplished, get the analysis done, the planning done, and then the actual paperwork and everything necessary to do so. After you can make contributions into your 401k. So an IRA, you've got until you file your taxes April 15th or potentially longer with extensions to still put money into an IRA. However, your 401k or your company plan with TSP, whatever it might be, you've got to get those in by the end of the year. So this is another area where people can throw some money maybe into their account.
Well, that's it. I mean, one of the best things, I mean, I steal this from Hank, but one of the things I've always heard him basically looking at the 401k, if people have enough money, maybe you can afford to maximize. You haven't put enough in, take your final paycheck, put it all towards the 401k. These are things that you can do, which would maybe even keep you in a lower tax bracket if you do it because, you know, obviously you're not paying tax on that. So, you know, putting money towards that. Just remember that, you know, the IRA is a tax deduction, so is your HSA money that you contribute to that. So maximizing your HSA contributions, if you haven't done that, do that by the end of the year is another great way, you know. And then some of these things, now these are straight off deductions, so these don't require itemizing.
So most people today have high deductible insurance plans, and as such they qualify for setting up a health savings account where you can put money in, just like your IRA. You can put that money in. There are caps on it based on whether you're single or family, and of course the size of your deductible and those kind of things. But very much like that, you can put it in. You don't have to pay tax on it. If you use it to pay medical bills in the future, you don't have to pay tax when you take it out. It's
and no meeting that 10% ceiling, you know, of your to itemize. We have to have 10%, and then we get $1. Most of us, knock on wood, are not putting that kind of medical out. So I love it.
Yeah,
Love it, love it.
HSA, you get it 100%. Now, the other part of with the HSA that's kind of nice too, unlike the old medical savings accounts, which if you didn't use it by the end of
You
the
lose
year,
it
you
kind of
lose
thing.
the money. Here, you can carry it over year after year after year. So if you don't use it, you can keep building it up, and eventually, you know, maybe
an IRA
later it's for
basically,
that,
right?
or yeah, it becomes like
I
a
mean, it's a-
retirement account
exactly.
potentially. So if you, in other words, if you use it for other than medical expenses when you take it out, you got to pay tax on it. So for medical, which is like an IRA, right? So either way, you don't lose the money, you get tax deferral, and it's either going to be tax-free if used for medical, or at least you get tax deferral when you take it out later for other purposes. So HSA, that's something you got to get in by the end of the year as well for the tax year. Now, the other thing that we're going to be looking at has to do with after-tax contributions. This is an area, if you've got company plans, some company plans like 401ks, again, TSP, that will allow for after-tax contributions where you can put in money that you've gone beyond the limit of how much you can deduct, and then they'll still let you put more money in. Those after-tax contributions with the new IRS rules can be converted many times to a Roth IRA with no taxes. Now, think of this for a second. If you want to put money into a Roth, you're limited to $5,500, $5,000, and then an extra $1,500 if you're over 50. Okay, so the maximum is $6,500 that you can put into a Roth. But if you can put after-tax contributions into your company plan, you could put 2 to 3 times that in there and then convert it over to a Roth, and now you've just been able to maximize the benefit of a
that's
Roth
awesome.
IRA.
I like that.
Sweet,
I
right?
like that. I didn't hear about that one. Something new for me to learn.
These great tax, because what do we know? Tax deferral is good, tax-free is even
awesome.
better. So Roth conversions, you know, I had some clients in recently. This is the other area. IRAs have been around, IRAs and company plans have only been around basically since like the mid-70s for IRAs and the early 80s for 401ks and company plans. So they haven't been around that long when you think in terms of how long we've had pensions and stuff before that. But now they've been around long enough to where we're really starting to see some pretty sizable accounts, well over $1 million in many instances, that people have saved up in their taxable accounts. In fact, 2 to 3 million I see all the time as well. And what I'm seeing is large Roths as well, where they've done conversions and stuff, and we might see over $1 million in tax-free dollars. That is a huge benefit to potentially for a family. When we get into estate planning, you're looking, and this goes again to knowing what questions to ask. Sometimes I remember so much of this would happen where people would be talking about doing Roth conversions, and they would be talking to their accountant, and the accountant said, well, you're not going to live long enough to really benefit from that. If you're not going to use the money, it doesn't matter how long you're going to live. How long are your children going to live, or your grandkids
Exactly.
going to live? See, it was so
Silly.
short-sighted. With estate planning, we're looking beyond. So if this is money you're not going to necessarily need during your lifetime,
Charities,
it is a
families.
huge benefit that you can pass on to your children and your grandchildren even. And you can, you could go to your children. If the children are in good shape, you can have money go to the grandchildren. You can choose through estate planning
Right.
how to do this to create tax-free income for them. And when you think of what our government is doing, saddling our future generations with our debts, okay, as immoral as that is, we feel powerless to do much about it because of the people in Washington and the decisions that are being made. We have to do what we can, obviously, with our votes and with our what other action we can take. But one thing you can do for your family is you can do good planning.
Right.
All right, so that you can help them overcome some of the bad decisions that others may be stuck with. So that's something to keep in mind. And again, for the first 10 callers to my office, part of the planning that we do includes estate planning. So if you call the office, 615-376-5325, Debbie's standing by. She'll get your information. She'll send you out a checklist of things to bring to the appointment. You'll be able to meet with me, with Dr. Friday. If you want to get into estate planning, I can bring Russ in, and we can talk to you about your estate planning as well. All of that at no cost. You can get all of this. I mean,
Where else do you get that kind of thing?
I'm
Come
talking,
on.
if you wanted to sit down with the three of us and pay our hourly rate, you'd be paying over $1,000 an hour for that privilege, okay? So this is a really good opportunity for you to take advantage of this free offer. And in addition, I'll send you out a copy of my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement. And I cover the basics of financial planning in the first 2 chapters. I talk about IRA mastery, how to reduce taxes on IRA distributions. We talk about Roth conversions, all of that in chapter 3. Chapter 4, safe ways to invest to help protect your assets without losing and yet still stay ahead of inflation. Can you imagine, right? And then also we get into how the smart money invests. If you're going to be in the market, I'm going to show you the smartest way to be in the market to minimize risks and maximize returns. We'll talk about long-term care, the different ways to pay for it, how you can minimize that cost, and of course estate planning so that you take the advantage, you can protect your family, protect your loved ones, and of course protect yourself. Estate planning is about taking care of yourselves through your lifetime, as well as making sure then that you minimize taxes and legal costs and the rest for your children as well.
Your money stays within your family and maybe doesn't veer off because of situations.
Keep it in the bloodline. That's a big one.
It's an important one, most of us. And you know, another thing, Hank, a lot of times people come in is when they have college students.
Right.
And if you're in a certain income bracket, sometimes you think, should I be putting these loans in my name? Should the kids be taking them out in their name? Even though, you know, and there is some great ways nowadays. The IRS has looked at gifting as a way of, so the student takes out the loans, even though mom and dad are paying the loans. You would basically gift, and the student would be able to claim up to $2,500 of that interest, where the parents may get 0 because of the fact their income's too high. Basically, if a married couple's making about 130 or more, they're not going to get any interest.
Right.
So it's a way of getting some tax dollars back in your pocket as you're making these payments. I have people doing the same thing with homes, where the parents may be buying the home for the kids and they're gifting the money every year to the children that makes the mortgage payments. The kids claim it. It's not a deduction for the parents, but you're not going to get the deduction anyway. So this is a way of at least getting most of those tax deductions on a tax return and putting some more money in someone's pocket versus just giving the kids the money to be able to do something. So just, you know, sitting down and thinking about how you're going to do it, because a lot of parents are concerned, how are we going to pay for the college? Should I take a loan against my 401k? Should I take the money out, pay it all off? There are some advantages to doing it in some other ways.
And this one thing, student loans is becoming probably one of the biggest problems our country is facing right now.
Yes.
And it's going to be the thing, one of the big things that they're going to have to fix, just like with the tax code, just like with Social Security system.
They haven't fixed the tax code.
I didn't say they had. I said it's one of the things they need to fix.
Okay.
It's not. It's got to be simplified. It's got to be made more fair. I mean, and it's got to be made one of the things when it comes to fixing the tax code, besides the fact that it needs to be simplified, and there's a lot of different areas that, you know, that's a lot of different ideas for doing this, national sales tax, a number of things. Whatever your thoughts are there, we know that it's got to be simplified, and that the IRS has too much power, which is really, you know, has in recent years been abused in many instances, it appears. So we don't need that power to be abused. We don't need that kind of thing hanging over our head. So how to simplify things and make it better, how to protect yourself is a part of that. When it comes to tax planning, this is one of the areas that we're looking to do. We deal with what is. We know we'd like to see things improve, okay, but we also recognize what those the difficulties and the hurdles that have to be gone over to get that. So what can we do with what is to at least minimize the impact on ourselves? All right, well, we're going to get into some more tax tips for you, ways that you can minimize your taxes as soon as we come back from this break. Join us here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.